Yep.
Hello and welcome to Off Chain. Today is December 2nd, 2017. And with me today is Tone Vase. Lots of stuff going on today. What's going how's Colombia and everything?
Oh man, Colombia's pretty good. Again, I'm spending my entire day like in the hotel room because I even forgot to put my high definition camera on. Oh man, I'm like an idiot. I just realized that I'm on my laptop camera. I've just like literally been busy all day,
Hmm.
and at night I get to go out, and yeah, I'm gonna reply to even less people. It's amazing, man. Like everyone wants their personal question answered, and it's like 300 of them a day. So that's not happening.
Yeah,
So
especially
it's
being
not
the
gonna happen.
price guru that you are, I imagine
Yeah.
everyone wants to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And I know some of you are like writing in an email, like a long-winded, like the moment I open an email and it's more than like a paragraph, I probably never read the rest of it. I just don't, I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to happen. Even if I'm like wrong on something. And it's so funny. I got a tweet yesterday. Someone was like, because everyone got upset over what I'd say about inflation, happens like every 3 months. They're like, oh, you can't ignore 200 replies to your tweet. I'm like, no, actually, it's very easy to ignore 200. It's very difficult to ignore like three replies to a tweet, but it's insanely easy to ignore 100 replies to your tweet.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Definitely seeing that. All right, so some stories we got for you. Apparently, PricewaterhouseCoopers accepted a Bitcoin payment for some services. Yeah, is this our mainstream moment, Tom? What's going on?
I think so. I think this is great. And also, this is kind of like all of these things are coming together, like between the big bang theory and being on the front covers, and now PricewaterhouseCoopers, uh, accepting Bitcoin as payment.
Mm,
I mean, this is how short-term tops are made.
mm, mm.
It's just the way it is. Everyone thinks this is the beginning of mass adoption, when in reality, this is probably like a short-term uh, high because it's just too much too fast, and the technology can't absorb it. Like it's just not there, and we don't even know what's going on with the price. We're gonna get to Tether in a minute.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll definitely be getting to Tether. All right, so a couple of bips on the mailing list. This is from Paul Stork. He's been working on DriveChains for a while. He's dropped a couple of bips. They're not assigned numbers yet, but very interesting stuff. Hash rate escrows is the first one, which is sort of like locked in an SPV proof, something like that, and blind merge mining, which is sort of important as part of DriveChains. They're both going to, taken together, they should enable DriveChains. Apparently, the code is entirely finished, and it can start going through the process of review. Obviously, very different in terms of how this is sort of being approached as opposed to something like the 2x hard fork. This isn't a hard fork as far as I know. It's just a couple of opcodes. But this is a different sort of style of development. Your thoughts, Tone, on drive chains and how that's going to come along?
I'm still like, no matter how many times I ask Paul Stores to explain it to me, I still don't get it. I just don't get it. Like I don't understand. No, okay. So Jimmy, so try to explain it really quickly.
All right,
Like,
so
why should I be excited about
All
this?
right, so you could have a side chain, and it's pegged to the main chain, which is obviously Bitcoin. If you have a side chain, then you can do all sorts of different things on different side chains. And among other things, I think RSK wants to do smart contracts on a side chain, and so it would be pegged that way. Drive chains are a specific way of making sure that you can go back and forth between the side chain and the main chain in a way that doesn't inflate the currency, in a way that's like sort of secure. The way he's doing it is through something called blind merge mining. It requires miners on the main chain to merge mine on the side chain, merge mine the side chain with the main chain. So you put sort of some sort of like block header commitment into the Coinbase transaction, something like that. But that's more or less what this is, sort of a mechanism to make side chains work, if that makes sense.
Right, but what's the main use of the side chains other than bringing us smart contracts, which I think are just stupid in general,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So it could be almost anything. It could, I like pretty much like the other main sort of thing that people have been talking about is having Mimblewimble on a sidechain. So that would mean that you can have very confidential transactions with no blockchain record. You'd have to, basically be a node that's like recording absolutely everything in order to be able to compromise even a little bit. But you wouldn't know very much. You wouldn't know that there's no address. There's just outputs, and there's no amounts. It's entirely confidential, and it uses zero knowledge proofs to make that work. So.
Oh, that use case I like.
Yeah, those are just two of them. You can imagine a lot more. It's a platform for making a lot, like all of these altcoins, right? Like they could be kind of a sidechain if you coded it that way.
But that's one of the problems, right? One of the problems is people are imagining something they think they deserve hundreds of millions of dollars for, and that's why they go ICO, right? I mean, one of the problems is too much imagination right now that. And they get upset when I tell them how dumb it is to decentralize 911, for example, because the guy thinks that idea is worth billions.
Yeah.
And he's ICOing, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this is that, well, at least there isn't yet a clear way to monetize, like, or to sort of scam people out of money, kind of like ICOs do.
Well, no, they're gonna ICO to bring you the project on the Bitcoin sidechain, right? That's not going to stop them from an ICO, right? They're going to ICO on Ethereum in order to have the money to build more spam on Bitcoin once DriveChain is.
Well, it wouldn't be on Bitcoin proper. It would be on a sidechain, and you could do whatever you want on the sidechain, but you're not inflating the currency or spamming it at all. So, I mean, you might have, different address formats, different security properties. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that you can do on a sidechain. And you're right. The imagination has sort of gone off on the rails a little bit, especially with ICOs. But I actually believe there's definitely a lot of potential in DriveChains. I was advocating at one point using DriveChains to solve the scaling debate because you could have bigger blocks on one sidechain and Lightning on another. But obviously that didn't come to pass. But that's something. Those are the type of things that we should be thinking about.
All right. Well, let's see. So it seems like a good project. Let's see what the core devs have to say about this, right? Because they're going to be the ones that are going to give the green light whether this goes in as a soft fork, right?
Yeah. And there's obviously got to be a lot of review and stuff. But I know a lot of core devs are excited. Luke Dash Jr. and Adam Back are two of the ones that have spoken positively about this very thing.
It makes me a little more optimistic already.
Yeah. All right. So. Here's a pretty long-form, fun story to read if you have the time. Obviously, Aaron Van Werdum, he really should publish books on this stuff. But basically, he goes through what's happened in the past 12 months, I think maybe 11 months, about how Bitcoin has sort of gone through a lot of different things and how we got from 1,000 to 10,000 and all the events that happened. So if you're sort of new to crypto and are just getting into this stuff, this would be a great way to sort of summarize what's happened and how things have impacted Bitcoin. Your thoughts on how he summed this up? Have you gotten a chance to read this? I'm guessing not.
No, but I trust his work. He does these kinds of articles like every 6 months or so. And it's pretty good.
Yeah,
he does good work. He's definitely more of a writer for beginners than like yourself, who's more of a writer for more seasoned Bitcoiners.
Yeah, but yeah, obviously, if you're getting into this just now, or if you want to send this to somebody that's just getting into it, that might be a good idea just to get them up to speed on what's been happening the last year or so. All right, and final story. This is from Mr. Chris Ellis. He works at Bitfinex, and he sent out this slightly cryptic tweet yesterday. Bloomberg coming out with a feature on Monday about a customer claiming that they couldn't withdraw 1 million USDT from Tether, even though new tethers are generated every day. The correct KYC process must be respected. You can't use Bloomberg for your support request. So, something is dropping Monday, and he's not the only one that I've heard this from. And I'm not gonna go reveal my sources, but there's definitely chatter that something big is coming with respect to Tether coming on Monday. Your thoughts, Tone, on what this cryptic tweet means?
It means that people at Bitfinex are unhappy about the publicity that Tether has been getting. And my reply to them is stop creating new Tether at a rate of $25 million a day. And then you will not get the kind of attention you don't like getting. It's amazing. Like, what do you expect? You create, even like I've always said, even if the money is all there, it's a problem. It's a centralized problem to a decentralized solution.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on, but I think you and I have been pretty confused by this story and the type of defense people are coming to with Bitfinex. They're defending it like you're insulting their mom or something. So I'm really curious to see what happens, and I know there's more than a few reporters sniffing around here. So we'll see what happens. All right, well, that's it for my stories. Tone, you want to talk about some price stuff?
Sure. Let's flip screens here. You know what?
Who is Satoshi Nakamoto, and why is that person in our chat? What?
I don't know. It's all right, as long as they're not bothering us. Oh, I see a Satoshi. Yeah, I don't know. Can we boot him? Hide non-video participants. Beautiful.
Remove Satoshi. Yeah, how did they get into our Zoom? I guess maybe they saw something.
I guess it's all right.
All right, so let's go full screen here.
At least they're being good about it. How do I? Here it is. I can move this bar out of the way. Jeez. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to move it over to here. Okay. So what I wanted to point to is the story that we did the other day about Coinbase and taxes that people seem to have went ballistic on, mostly ballistic on me. Okay. So let's go to the coin, and I don't even know this, right? Like, look, to me, certain things are common sense. They're just common sense, right? Coinbase support. What does it say? We use first in, first out method for report. If you don't know what first in, first out method for report is, you got other problems than, do some basic tax assessments, okay? Then it says right here, transactions sending into or out of Coinbase wallets are treated as buys or sells at the current market price in the report. What did I say the other day without even reading this thing? The moment you take your Bitcoin out of Coinbase, Coinbase has no idea if you sold it or moved it to a hardware wallet. They have to make an assumption. The only logical default assumption is that you sold the Bitcoin. Because if the assumption is that you kept the Bitcoin, that's going to be a disaster for you 5 years down the line when the IRS comes knocking and says, hey, we're aware that when you moved your Bitcoin out of Coinbase 4 years ago, one Bitcoin was worth $300. Today, that Bitcoin is $30,000. You owe us a lot of taxes. And you're going to go screaming to high heavens how you moved it out of Coinbase and you don't have it anymore. But IRS isn't going to care what you have to say, right? So this is why you want this. This is the situation you want. The moment you move it out of Coinbase, Coinbase is doing you a favor by reporting to the IRS that you sold it, because the other way is going to be a disaster for you. Now, you can choose to keep your own records and not report it as a sale, because then if the IRS comes knocking and says, hey, how come you didn't report that transaction as a sale when you moved it out of Coinbase? You can then defend yourself to the IRS and say, hey, I still have that Bitcoin. Here's proof that I have it. Because it's very easy to prove that you have something. It's impossible to prove that you don't have something.
That's true. That's true. It's hard to prove a negative.
Right. So if Coinbase did not report you as a sale by removing out of Coinbase, you end up in so much trouble without a defense for yourself if you actually sold it when you moved it up.
Yeah,
Okay?
so Tone's not your accountant, and neither am I, but you should definitely talk to your accountant about issues like this. All right, you want to...
All right, now let's get to the price.
I'm going to move you back, so... All right, there you go.
All right, so I have to move myself now on this one. And this just makes common sense to me. It's amazing how I'm explaining this to like 100 people and probably accountants as well. It's insane.
All right, let's take a look. Wow.
All right, so the week is about to end, and here we go. I have one of the nines, and it's also in line with a monthly 9. So this is where things start to get really, really crazy, right? We had a monthly 9 that just ended. There's absolutely no rebuy signal on a monthly chart, right? To get a rebuy signal, you really need a candle trading above a candle after a 9, right? So here's an example on a monthly chart, right? If you took some profit off of this monthly 9, your next monthly entry would have been, so if you took your profit the month of May 1st, your monthly entry would have been re-entry would have been right here in October, because that's when you finally had a month that was trading higher than the previous month, okay? Because this first one doesn't count because it came right after a 9. Then the same thing happened here, right? You had a monthly 9, so if you took your profit in February, at the end of the month, hopefully, the following candle is a no trade candle no matter how you slice it. Then you're waiting for a candle trading above the prior one. These were kind of at the same price. So most likely you went back into the market, my little green line here, in the very beginning of May, you went back in, all right? Here we go again, right? You had a month of November where you could have taken profits. I mean, you could have held on to it if you looked at more detailed time frames. And then the following candle is a no trade candle according to the indicator on a monthly chart. So now you're going to wait till January or February, and you're waiting for the first month that starts trading above the prior month. Now let's go to the weekly and use the same logic and assess. Okay, like here's the weekly, and you know what? I need to turn on the back test so I can see all the numbers. All right, so the same thing, right? On a weekly, if you took your profit right here, the week of June 5th, and it never really corrected big time, when does the indicator tell you to go back in? Well, it tells you to go back in long once you have a candle, a weekly candle, trading above the prior weekly candle, which would have been right here, the week of July 31st. Then we never even had a 9, and we never even had a short indication on weekly. So you can still be long right into it, into a 13, potential sell here, kind of worked out if you bought the dip. I mistimed it a little bit. And now we're on a weekly 9. So same thing, right? This is the week to take your profit. This is your profit-taking week. If you're wrong, you can get back in 2 weeks. Now, I understand that in 2 weeks, the price could be 20,000, but the indicator doesn't know that, right? It just tells you, right, you take your profit on a red arrow, and you can get back in the moment you have green numbers trading above the prior green numbers, okay? So now, because a week is 7 days, let's zoom into the daily to see if we have a daily indication of when we should be exiting. So in the current week, right now, we are on an 8 with a 9 coming tomorrow. And that's what I tweeted out earlier today. Anyway, so hopefully people understand that tweet. So if I zoom in here, right, same thing here. Like, remember, if you exited too early based on just this indicator alone, which is my favorite thing to trade these days, right, or at least explain. So if you exited on this red arrow on the daily chart, or even back there, I'm not going to talk about that one. I think I've talked about that one many times. If you exited on this red arrow with this 9 that's coming up tomorrow, when do you get back in? Well, you technically get back in here. Yeah, there was a big gap here, unfortunate, right? You could have either got back in at new all-time highs, but this indicator told you to go back in right here once the candle with the 2 started trading above the 1. yeah, you missed out on a little bit of gains, but then you caught the rest of it, right? In a pretty safe, risk-averse way, all right? I think on some exchanges, this might have been a green one. That would have made this a green two, in which case you could have exited, you could have entered like $100, like $1,000 earlier, right? But now everything is setting up, and tomorrow is actually going to be a 913. I didn't even see that because the number was kind of small. So tomorrow is going to be like a monster sell signal for me. Okay, so with this indicator, because it's a weekly 9 ending a daily 9 on the same day on a Sunday, it'll be a 9 and a 13 on the same day. It's like all the ducks are lining up in a row. The 4-hour chart, and it's funny how people are tweeting at me how inaccurate these things are. And then I look at the previous 9 with the red arrow and what happened, and then I look at the current 9 with the red arrow, like 8 hours ago, and I'm like, well, okay, you may think it's inaccurate, but I think it's the most accurate thing that I've used ever in the space. So there it is, right? Here's your 9 telling you to take your profit based on a 4-hour chart. If you don't want to wait till tomorrow, this indicator gave you a perfect exit right on this doji candle. I mean, you can't make this any more textbook. You have this I, that means intersection. Please Google that. And you have this 9, you have this doji. Here's the last time this happened, and look at the fallout, right? So here we go again. This one is worse because this one is timing with the daily right here on the 8th and 9 tomorrow, or like already in like 7 hours or so, versus the other one that came on a 5 candle, right? So this is just, and even by traditional analysis, even if you don't know what the hell this indicator is and ignore it, by traditional analysis, the moment the price dropped below the low of the doji, you can short this thing, right? I mean, that's traditional trading. You get this doji at the top of a rally, like you see how this was a doji right here, but the following candle never traded below the doji, so the short trade was never executed based on traditional trading. In traditional trading, once you have a doji at the top of a bull run, you can short the asset the moment it goes below the doji. At least that's how I always used to trade, and it's pretty damn wild. The hourly chart's probably useless. We topped on a 13, so borderline useful. But right now, we're still messing around the top. Now, here's where my personal issue comes in with this, right? I have a bit of a conflict because I don't believe in double tops being sustained all-time highs, right? The good thing for Bitcoin is this isn't there's always going to be a better all-time high, right? So even if we have one of these things, and it also creates a similar conflict that I had at the bottom, like I don't know if you remember, Jimmy, when I told this is a 4-hour chart.
The double bottom.
The thing is, right, I hate it when I have a lower close but a higher intraday low, right? So I don't know where the low is. Is the low the close, or is the low the low, right? So this is like a quasi double bottom, but it's like skewed like weirdly, right? And it's happening right now on the daily, but in reverse. You have a higher intraday high a few days ago, but now you have a higher close, right, on a daily chart. And this creates like a bit of a conflict because I don't know where the actual high is. Is the intraday high more important, or is the closing day high more important? And that's up to you as a trader. Like, you got to pick one. As a trader, you got to pick one and stay with it consistently, because I do videos and I don't know which one is better. So I have to try to take them both into account. And you have a tricky situation where, the candles of the high are different than the candles of the candles of the closing high are different than the candles of the intraday high. So to deal with some of the conflicts that I'm having right now, I'm probably gonna trust the 9s tomorrow or even today. And with the Tether news coming out on Monday, I mean, it's hard for me to just blatantly say it's a top because I just don't want to deal with the trolls. But let's just say, I'm taking some profit here. Let me just put it that way, all right? Unfortunately, the Bitcoin futures aren't trading yet. They're not trading for another 2 weeks. But I will make a disclaimer right now that if I was doing this video 3 weeks from today, Oh yeah, I would have shorted the futures before going on right now, before going on this morning with all these nines lining up. I'm kind of pissed that the futures aren't there for me to trade, and they're coming in a little late. I mean, I would be short. I would be short, and it's very, very easy to know when I'm wrong, right? I would consider myself wrong on the short, on taking profit. Because remember, I'm not selling my actual Bitcoin. I would hedge my Bitcoin by shorting the futures. That's the same thing as shorting. That's the same thing as selling Bitcoin. But I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, so I would go short in the futures market to hedge my long Bitcoin position that I don't plan to sell. And like I think I drew these on our video yesterday, but I deleted them because I was doing a tweet and the lines were just in the way. So I drew these two lines yesterday, so I'm putting them back. And I drew a green line here. So basically, you see how this green line wasn't crossed? So if you're exiting right here for a profit, and I'm not saying you should be shorting, you should never short cryptos, any of them, right? But if you're exiting right here to take some profit, you know you're wrong when a candle closes above that green line. Like when you close above the all-time high, and preferably not tomorrow, right? Preferably, this is what you want. You want the 9 to come. You want there to be some pullback. And you want to start closing at new all-time highs like a week from now, not in 2 days, right? Then it becomes this situation here where I call the top. We got a 30% correction, but we rebounded fairly quickly. And I said, I know I'm wrong on this top call. And it wasn't even wrong, but I know to get back into the market upon new all-time high close. So the moment this candle started, the moment this cluster started closing above the highs, that's it. I'm back in long. It was unfortunate that another 9 came right after, but I think at this point I'm like almost babbling here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than, let me just quickly, can you see the picture?
Yeah.
Right, so this was my tweet this morning, and I clearly stated that it's a bit of a conflict between my two favorite means of analysis on the all-time highs, whether it's a blow-off top with only a few hours to get in, or it's one of the 9 sells, and one of them is gonna fail you, right? So you just gotta trade carefully over the next 3 days. Because either the 9s will be ignored and we keep going higher, or the double top will actually hold up, and then we do a pullback off the double top. Now, of course, all of these things could be true. Like the 9 to tomorrow causes a correction, whether a 3-day correction, a week correction, let's say a month correction. This correction could be as small as 10%. Or 20%. Actually, 10% is like nothing. We had like a 25% swing 5 days ago, right? So this correction could be a 30% correction. This correction could be a 60% correction. But this correction could resolve itself within 2 months, and we can be back at $15,000 in 4 months from now, making both of these things true. The timing of the 9s gave you a nice exit. Try to catch the dip properly. Hopefully you'll get a similar 9 on the opposite end to help you time the dip, and we break the double top within 3 months, and then everything kind of aligns. But trading that for a profit is not going to be easy. I can guarantee you that.
Wow, lots of good stuff, Tone. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. I don't know how many people are watching live on mine and your channel, but I imagine it's a lot of people.
I haven't checked. We'll see. Every one of these videos, anyway, it's but I was going to say something, never mind. I'm going to try to do more videos today, guys. I want to do my traditional market analysis. I know people are upset I haven't done my full long-winded Bitcoin price analysis, mostly because of the Q&A section. So I'll probably do, because I think this is one of the reasons why I went a little bit, stronger right now on I went a little bit longer right now on explaining the Bitcoin technicals. And this way, when I do my traditional market analysis, you guys can then ask me about Bitcoin in a Q&A. Hopefully, I'll have time for that later today or tomorrow. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, I mean, if you're in Colombia, come find me at the conference. I'll be in Toronto in a couple of days now, speaking at a conference and doing my seminar. Then I'm back in Colombia the rest of the December into January, and then it's off to blockchain cruise in Singapore. I'll be doing a trading seminar there as well. Just check my website for details.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. I know we came on a little later, but both of us are traveling, and we'll try to be on a regular schedule starting again on Monday. Thanks everybody, and this song is done.